Okay. Good morning, everybody. Jim Feist and Victor King from Florida. Good morning, Victor.
Good morning, Jim. How are you doing this morning in Las Vegas?
I think everybody's in shock after what the Niners did to the Rams last night. I know so many people that went out of their way to get the Rams in their survivor play.
Oh,
I
yeah.
mean, most people don't play the Thursday game because they don't want to commit too early and they don't have all the injury reports and stuff. But I guess the game looked so easy. A lot of people it was like money in the bank and a piece of candy. But boy, I tell you, Mac Jones found a home, didn't he?
It looks like it. I think at the very, very least, Mac Jones has earned himself a potential spot to be a starting quarterback somewhere else, if not here in San Francisco with yesterday's performance. He's only 27 years old. And you're right about game time line went all the way up to about 8 points with all these Niner injuries. Purdy out, their top two wide receivers out. The tight end is already on IR as well. And a lot of people took a bath in their survivor pools with the line going where it did. I will credit one guy, though, who kind of stood out alone
I
down
know who
here, at
you're talking
least
about.
in our
I sent him a
playbook
note this
offices.
morning. I
And that
said,
was Mark Lawrence, who was on the Niners last night. And good win for him.
I sent him a note this morning. I said, "You're the one. You're the only one that I know that had called out the Niners as the winner."
Right, he
And
was on Niner Island, and good
he
for him
was.
for not only covering but bringing home the outright win.
So we don't talk too much about this. There's an overseas game tomorrow in not tomorrow, Sunday in England, and according to the weather report, it looks like there's some pretty high winds in England for that game. Now that could change by game time, but that's early in the morning. And the one thing that's been a big topic this year, this is kind of off schedule for us, but is the injuries or the injuries. Unbelievable. It's like every team is a mash unit.
Absolutely. We for a while there, it was the reason that scoring was down in the first 3 to 4 weeks of the season. Although on the field last week, things were a little bit different. If you ask me what was the storyline last week in the NFL, for me, it was all about points and a resurgence, actually, of offensive yards. We talked about in the first 3 weeks of the season, there was only an average of 317.9 offensive yards per game. Last week, 15 teams had 350 or more. 6 teams had 400 or more. As a result, the average points per game last week in the NFL, 48.6. That's the second highest scoring week of the season. There were 10 overs. There were only 6 games that went under the total. So it's kind of weird. I remarked about this in this week's Totals Tip Sheet newsletter. The results of the first 4 weeks in the NFL in terms of totals are kind of like, back and forth, high scoring, then low scoring, then high scoring, then low scoring. And it kind of reminds me a little bit of, even though I'm dating myself, the Star Trek movies featuring the original cast. If you remember, if you're a fan of those movies, the odd numbered movies were considered the weakest. 1, 3, 5. Yet the even numbered movies were considered the best Star Trek movies. Number 2, The Wrath of Khan. Number 4, The Voyage Home. Number 6, The Undiscovered Country. So this is kind of how the first 4 weeks of the NFL season have reminded me of the original Star Trek movies. I know I'm going off on a limb here, making comparisons like that. But again, it was a high scoring week in the NFL, almost 49 points per game, 10 overs, 6 unders. Uh, Ironically, the interesting thing is through 4 weeks right now, we're exactly split right down the middle of the NFL, 32 overs, 32 unders,
Wow.
average combined points at 46.6. So we've had a low scoring, a high scoring, a low scoring, and a high scoring. in each of the first 4 weeks of the season.
Now, the people are going to say, okay, what does that mean for this week? And then last night, we go to overtime. The game actually did go over.
Yeah, it did.
I was on the under in the game. So that field goal to tie the game actually hurt me.
Me too, Jim. I was on the under as well. So misery loves company.
So what do we do this week? We got some, how do you take that? Is it going to flip flop is this the year of the flip flopping weeks, or is this going to, as Bill Belichick said years ago, with the new CBA rules and the non-practice and the non-hitting and stuff in the preseason, the first 4 weeks of the regular season is really like a preseason.
Yep.
Well, if that's the case, maybe that's why we have so many injuries. And now are we going to start to see some balancing out of this mess that we have?
Right. It's our first week of buys, right? We got 4 teams sitting out this week: Atlanta,
Correct.
Chicago, Green Bay, and Pittsburgh. So it's the first week of the buys. The average over-under line as we speak today is right at 45.0 points. You mentioned the across the pond game. Of course, last week that Steelers-Vikings game did end up going over the total by 4 points. They are playing this week in a different stadium at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium in London, England, with the Vikings, who also played across the pond last week. They stayed over there. They'll be playing our Cleveland Browns, who are making changes at the quarterback position. They're also starting rookie Isaiah Bond at wide receiver this week. We'll see what happens. But the line itself is as low as we've seen in the last couple of years. Yeah. There's pretty much 36 across the board, and I wouldn't be surprised if it went down even to 35.5, maybe even 35 by the time these two teams kick off on Sunday. Obviously, you got 2 fantastic defenses, that is for sure. Cleveland, number 1 in the league. Minnesota, you know what you got there with a tremendous defensive coordinator. So first game of the Sunday slate has got the lowest total of the season thus far at 36 points. Again, last week's game did go over, as we noted in last week's tip sheet. These international games with a low over-under line of less than 42 points have actually gone over the total at about a 78 to 80% clip.
Wow.
So I would actually kind of lean toward the over with a few points of value. I think 35.5, 36 is a little bit on the low side. I could easily see this game finishing like 20 to 17, 21 to 17. That's 37, 38 points. And that means the game possibly goes over.
Right now, Victor, DraftKings, FanDuel, Caesars, ESPN Bet, all have 35.5.
Wow. Amazing.
Yeah, it really is. I haven't seen a number like that in a long, long time.
Right now, one thing that we haven't seen is we haven't seen a really, really high line this week. You know, the Patriots-Bills at one point was flirting at about 50. That's come down to 48.5, 49 area. So that's one thing that we will not see this week, apparently, Jim, is an over-under line of 50 or higher.
Right now, DraftKings is 49.5, over -18. BetMGM has 49.5. And everything else is 48.5, 49, pretty consistently. Now it's hard to say. Of course, you always have potential of weather in Buffalo. I mean, they're right there with that potential. These two teams in New England, Buffalo, dominated this division for years. It's like the other teams don't matter. They don't even exist.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
It should be a fun Sunday night game, that's for sure.
Pardon me?
Should be a fun Sunday night game, that's for sure.
Yes, I think it will be. There was a mention yesterday by one of the when we did our ATS show, one of the comments that came in, and I thought it was very intelligent. He said, looking at the league, the teams in the AFC North, which The Ravens are loaded with injuries right now. I mean, they're an underdog to Houston in this week's game, which is kind of incredible. And then you have Cincinnati with no Burrow, and they just look like they can't play at all. And then Cleveland, of course, we know they're not going to win the division. So he made a bet on Pittsburgh to win the division at plus 2-1 yesterday. I think that's a very intelligent bet.
I do too. And I know you just said that's not going to happen, but I've been talking to my brother this week up in Ohio, and he has convinced me to play a little bit of long shot money on the Browns to win the division.
No.
At 30-1 odds.
Okay, well, that's different.
Now, I love that type of long shot. That is for sure. They've already got the best defense in the NFL.
They do.
Now, I know we got quarterback issues with the Browns, and we're definitely not inclined or as well of an offense as the rest of the teams in the league. But you're not going to get an argument from me about either of those underdogs, the Steelers or the Browns, to win their division based on, of course, what's happened to the Ravens thus far, the fact that they do not have a good defense. Neither does Cincinnati as well. So it's interesting that you brought that up, because just a couple of days ago myself, I played a little bit on the Browns at 30-1 odds to actually come back and win the division as well.
That would be an amazing. I mean, not only it's Cleveland, and Cleveland has a way of, just like yesterday. I mean, they had a shot to win.
Oh, I know.
Won, and they just didn't show up, and but a lot of teams didn't. I mean, then we're talking switching over to baseball. When the Yankee game started, and you had those two rookie pitchers going, I said, "Hey, this is going to be a hell of a game." And then you got to the fourth inning. And the Yankees just exploded, and that was. But the Yankee pitcher, he looks like a real stud that could be something special going down the road if he stays healthy.
Apparently, that long comeback by the Indians, or the Guardians, I call them the Indians, by the Guardians at the end of all things, took something out of them. I mean, you got to give credit to Detroit. They really blew that lead in that division, that is for sure. They ended up getting the last laugh as they took down our Guardians yesterday. We're a little bit sad, us Clevelanders, but it was a hell of a season for the Guardians. A really, really nice comeback. Obviously not the way we wanted to finish the year.
No, but that's kind of typical for Cleveland sports teams. I mean,
you got that right.
The Cavaliers last year, I thought, were pretty good, and then all of a sudden their best players were hurt. And I mean, there was one game, I think it was game 2, where 3 of their best players were sitting on the bench.
Yep.
And Cleveland just has bad luck in that. But we won't go there.
You mentioned the Houston-Baltimore game.
Yes.
Real quick, the Ravens game. Too much of an overlay in regards of how the line is moved. I think most sharp bettors will probably be in agreement on this one. At one point, the look-ahead line was Baltimore minus 9.5.
Yeah.
All things considered, if everybody was healthy, Baltimore a 9.5-point favorite in that game. Now, on my chart here, I got my NFL full rankings chart on first-string quarterback and then second-string quarterback for each team, and what that difference is worth to the point spread. For me, on the Ravens, Lamar Jackson, third highest ATS difference, going from Lamar Jackson to Cooper Rush. According to my numbers, I got anywhere from 6.5 to 7 points.
Wow.
Tops. No higher than 7 points. So if the Ravens were minus 9.5, you take away 7, they should be a 2.5-point favorite over Houston. Guess what? It's the road team that's favored by 2.5. Right. There's 5 points of value on Baltimore in that game.
What about the other injuries that Baltimore has? I mean, they have significant injuries besides Lamar
on the defense. Yeah.
So I don't know what the hell's happening in this league. I mean, it is like Andy Isco said yesterday, we have to change the opening song just to the MASH song. It's like I thought it was pretty funny, but I think it was actually true. It's not just Lamar. It's the rest. I mean, their defense has just been. When you think of the Baltimore Ravens, I think our minds go back to when they were like allowing 6 points a game. Back in those days, there's no defense in the NFL like that anymore. The rules have changed so much to the offenses, but this line move not only was it, and you're right, 9.5, and now it's 2.5. They keep betting on Houston.
Yeah, they do.
I mean, the money just is going that way.
This is not like the Chiefs, who took advantage of a really weak Baltimore defense last week. The highest point total of the season for Kansas City, 37. Let's not put the Houston Texans in the same window as the Kansas City Chiefs. You got the probably weakest offensive line in football. You got C.J. Stroud all of a sudden can't throw the deep ball. They're averaging about 5.5 yards per attempt on completed passes. Their offensive backfield is a mess. I just don't think that Houston is the team to take advantage of that weak Baltimore defense.
And they're getting. I mean, when you look at last week's game, wasn't the score like 6 points in the fourth quarter, and then they rolled over Tennessee, and Tennessee's the worst team in football.
Right. They finally did roll over with a couple of late touchdowns. Yeah.
Right. So you're right. The value here is on the Ravens.
Yeah, it is.
And maybe now you're the totals guy. If you got a 41 or 41.5, and they are showing up, by the way, they weren't there yesterday, but I'm looking at Circa, Superbook. I'm looking at South Point at 41.5 right now, and Betty's ESPN 41.5. Do you think the under's a possibility here?
It is. In fact, I ended up playing the under in our survivor pool, but we were able to take advantage of what the Monday line was at 43.5 is what I played the under on in the pool. At the current line, if you're going to play the under, at least make sure your line is 41.5 or higher. I say that because 41 is a key number when it comes to totals. Yes, many different scoring opportunities. We'll have an NFL game finishing exactly on 41 points. If you do like the under in the game, at least make sure you get a 41.5.
It's very important to shop for lines because those half points in sides or totals will make a big difference at the end of the year, for sure.
Yeah, now, Jim, if I can segue a little bit, let's get into one of the team totals we like a lot this week. Tuco's done pretty good with his team totals. Last week it was the Packers to score over 27 points. It took overtime, but what was that final score? 40-40 against Dallas in that Sunday night game. It's kind of weird now. Out of the 4 Sunday night games this season, 2 of them have scored 80 or more points already, these Sunday night games. Interesting. But in fact, we did pretty well if we take a look at some of our plays from last week's show. In addition to the Tuco team totals, we did hit the Nico Collins over on his receiving yards. We hit the Omarion Hampton over on his rushing yards. We did hit the Ashton Genty of the Raiders over on his rushing yards as well. So aside from the touchdown props, the other props last week did pretty well. We're looking forward to a few more of them this week, but I think we should get into one of our team totals first. And the team total that we're liking, that we've already played, is the Dallas Cowboys. On the road. Now, I love Dallas overs at home. The road is another place. It can be a little bit scary for Dallas in this offense, but I mean, let's be completely honest here. I got a tweet here that says, yikes, the Cowboys through 4 games have the best offense in the NFL and the worst defense in the NFL. 404 yards per game on offense. They're allowing 420.5 on defense. Boy, I tell you what, if only they had a major superstar defender, that would be a good team, wouldn't it? Guess who they traded to the Packers? Either way, they're heading to MetLife to take on another team that's got a pretty bad defense as well, and that is the New York Jets. So this is one of the team totals of the two that Chuco is going to be pounding this week. I just mentioned Cowboys, 400 yards per game on offense. They've translated into an average of 28.5 points per game. Their total in this one is anywhere from 24.5 to 25. We're going to be going over Jets, bad defense. They're one of only 5 teams in the league this season that's given up 30 or more points per game on the season. And at last look, Dallas was installed as a slight road favorite in this game's 2.5 points. It might get to -3. But as road favorites, the Cowboys have averaged 31.8 points per game over the last 5 seasons when installed as road favorites. There you go. That's 32 points per game. Meanwhile, the Jets reduced rest off of that 27-21 loss down here in South Florida last Monday night against our Dolphins. NFL home dogs, this is a good one from our database, have allowed 29.1 points per game after playing a Monday night road game. It's telling us that reduced rest results in a pretty poor defensive showing in their next game. And finally, for the Jets, they themselves have an across the pond trip next week as well. They're going to be playing the Denver Broncos in London, England. And that's also a good sign for a lot of points. This has been a really strong database angle, is that playing over the total in the week prior to a team playing overseas. NFL underdogs have allowed 29.3 points per game in the last 4 seasons before playing a neutral site game. So we got everything in place here for what could potentially be a high-scoring overall game, full game over, maybe. But for sure, our play for this week is going to be Dallas to go over their team total on the road against the Jets.
That opened 45.5. Now it's up. We see some 47s, 47.5s, 48s on that game.
There you go. It looks like there's some action coming in on a high-scoring game there. Yep.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, we have to check the weather, of course. New York outdoor game, but I don't have the team totals in front of me here, so I can't.
I got the Cowboys right around 25 and the Jets right around 22.5.
Okay, that's about right. Yeah.
So that is the question: can the Jets score 23 or more for the full game to go over? Because we're pretty convinced the Cowboys will go over their team total.
Well, you did say that the Dallas Cowboys have the best offense and the worst defense. So if the Jets can, and if they can't score against Dallas, they're not going to score against anybody.
Right. So you've got sneaky shootout potential in this game, in the overall game, that's for sure. And of course, on our side as well, as we play the Cowboys again over their team total.
As a matter of fact, if you look at the Dallas Cowboys games, the Bears scored their most points there. The Packers scored their most points there. The Eagles beat them, but that was that lightning rain delay game, kind of a strange game,
right?
That was kind of broken up like that. And I don't remember the other game. Yes, they made the Giants look like, and Russell Wilson looked like world beaters, because in the 2 games that Wilson played that they didn't play Dallas, they scored 6 and 9 points. Against Dallas, they scored like 30-something.
Right.
So
yes, it is.
Yeah, they give up a lot. They give up more points to any team they play than that team's been able to do anywhere else.
Right. And you saw the second half of that Monday night game against the Dolphins, that a game in which the Jets were in a trailing game script, where Justin Fields is actually forced to be an NFL passer. That he had a pretty good second half in that game. He finished 20 for 27, not a heck of a lot of yardage, but when forced to be an NFL passer, he didn't look pretty bad last week against them. They almost came back to win the game, and a lot of people will argue that the Refs kind of screwed them over a little bit, the Jets, but it was a pretty good offensive showing last week. So, again, if we're all looking at this Dallas Jet game, full game over has got a lot of potential. That's for sure. At the very, very least, Dallas over their point total.
Well, Tuco's been doing pretty good, so got to follow Tuco.
Yeah, definitely. So you got an interesting team total there, Jim. And let me get into a couple of interesting props we like this week. The first two are quarterback-based props. And, oh, man, the first one I really like playing quarterbacks to go over their yardage totals when they're coming off a bad game and they're returning home again. And we've got the case in one of the late afternoon kickoffs this week. I'm specifically talking about the cross-country game with the Chargers hosting the Washington Commanders. And we're playing Justin Herbert over his passing yards in the game. Now, for this game, we got to put on our big boy pants because it's not a low number. It's 268.5. In fact, wait a minute. My latest number at the Hard Rock is actually 265 and a half. So it's going to be Justin Herbert over 265 and a half passing yards. Now, I know Washington in week one, they shut down Russell Wilson and the Giants. But since then, their last three games, Washington, they've been getting torched, absolutely torched through the air. They've allowed more than 280 passing yards in each of their last 3 weeks, including that big career game last week by Michael Penix of Atlanta. Had a career game against this Washington secondary that's not bringing everybody out to the game out on the West Coast. The secondary is injured even more, and they're really, really ripe to get thrown on. I think, Justin Herbert, he's going to bounce back big time. Worst performance of the year last week on the road against a pretty good Giants team. And you know what else won't hurt us? The indoor dome fast track surface at SoFi Stadium as well. Herbert has been attacking the ball downfield, spreading the ball around, that is for sure. Let's not forget he threw for 300 in week one against a great Chiefs defense. He threw for 300 or more against the Broncos in week three, against a very good Denver defense. They got to be licking their chops. They're playing a Washington defense. So if he could shred those secondaries, he should have no problems against a Commander squad that ranks dead last in the league in coverage grade per Pro Football Focus. So is it just a stand-alone play? Justin Herbert over his passing yards, count me in. If you feel like getting a little bit exotic, I might combine it with the Chargers to go over their team total. That kind of makes sense. If he's going to be throwing the ball up and down the field, they're probably going to go over their team total of 25 to 25 and a half. So if you want to get a little exotic, I might include Chargers over their team total along with that Justin Herbert over his passing total. Again, the more bets you add, the less your odds naturally. So at least it's worthy of a standalone play, and that is for sure. And another quarterback who I like over his passing yards this week is Daniel Jones. He's coming home. They're hosting a Raiders team, and like the Chargers, the Colts are off a road loss the previous week as well. They're looking for a little bit of a whipping boy on defense that they can beat up on. And I think they probably got one there in the Raiders. So we got Jones currently at 226 and a half, Daniel Jones. Guess what? Through the first 4 weeks of the season, he's thrown for 228 or more in every game. On the high end, 316 yards against a very good Denver. His lowest passing total was 228 in that 3-touchdown win against the Tennessee Titans. But to date, he's at 72% accuracy amongst the top 5 in the NFL. 8.9 yards per attempt. The Colts, another team that's throwing the deep ball with regularity as well. And he's done the best against these cover 3 defenses. And guess what? The Raiders play that coverage more than any other scheme on defense. So our second quarterback over the total in their passing yards, Daniel Jones. It's kind of interesting. Both of these games are indoor dome games.
Yeah.
Justin Herbert over his passing total. Daniel Jones over his passing total. Again, worthy of a standalone play, or if you want to put him in there with the Justin
And both
Herbert app,
are
and,
coming off losses.
and both are coming off losses. So,
Yeah.
two quarterbacks off losses, off their worst performances of the year, bounce back at home, indoors. I like it. They both
Yeah,
make sense, that's for sure.
absolutely.
Next up, I want to throw in what I like in terms of a correlated parlay. Two players in the same game, and it's going to start. It's going to be in the game down there in the in the Big Easy, New Orleans,
Okay.
hosting the Giants, coming off their first win of the season, right, with Jackson Dart last week. A game in which the outcome was a lot better than if you look at the game statistically. The Giants still did not have the best stats in that
No,
upset
no,
win against the Chargers.
correct.
But hey, either way, what we're looking at in this game is the Giants have a pretty good defense, but it's a good passing defense. It's not a good rushing defense. And this is where we start. And we're going with our boy Alvin Kamara of the Saints. And we're playing over his rushing yardage total. I currently showed at 56.5 rushing yards, Alvin Kamara. Excuse me, Jim. Now, last week he rushed for 70 yards on only 15 attempts, and that was against the Buffalo Bills team, and it was a negative game script. And when we're talking negative game script, we're talking about a game script in which they're playing from behind. Buffalo was beating in the whole game. So he
Sure.
still rushed for 70 yards on 15 carries in a negative game script. In a negative game script against the Niners in week 2, he rushed for 99 yards as well. This week, the Saints are favored at home.
Yeah.
Negative game script? I don't think so. For the first time all season, the Saints might actually have a positive game script, or at the very, very least, a neutral game script where they're not getting their asses kicked. So just think of what Kamara can do when he's not playing from behind, when the Saints are perhaps nursing a lead or in our tight game as well. So you got they're playing a 1-3 Giants team that's starting a rookie quarterback and just lost their best player to a season ending injury. So Kamara, you got the Giants are dead last in the NFL in defensive rush EPA, and they're also ranked 31st. That's second worst in yards per carry allowed rushing wise, 6.1. They're giving up 6.1 yards per rush
Wow.
on the season. So that
Wow.
means we load up on our Alvin Kamara rushing props. And it makes sense now if that we're going to do that for the Saints to also play the Saints quarterback under his passing totals. And we're talking about Spencer Rattler. He's currently at 204.5. I know that's a low line. We're still going under the total. We're going to play the Alvin Kamara over his rushing prop with the Shane Rattler under his passing prop. Now, the story with him all season is, yeah, he's got a lot of passing attempts. He throws the ball a bunch, but the ball doesn't move down the field at all. He's fourth in the NFL in total attempts, passing attempts for the year, 146. But he's averaging only 5.2 yards per attempt. That's fourth lowest. Whenever they're passing, they're basically dinking and dunking. That
Right.
is the Saints. The only players in the league who have a higher or a higher average per attempt are Cam Ward and Joe Flacco, who is now benched. So we're talking 3 quarterbacks there that are not throwing for great yardage totals. That is for sure. The Giants play a cover 1 defense more than anything else. He has struggled against that. Shane Rattler. The Saints would be best suited to what? Run the ball in the game. So here you got a correlated parlay that kind of makes sense. I've seen if you parlay them together, you get back about 3.5 to 1 odds. and that's Kamara over 56.5 rushing yards. Shane Rattler under 204.5 in his passing yards. So what I like is our indoor correlated parlay of those two Saint players, which kind of makes sense. Again, you can add more and really, really stretch that out into a long parlay. I'd rather not. I'd rather just play the two there as we play the Saints tandem, one to go over and one to go under.
You got a game script there that it's like you're picturing how this game is going to be played, and it plays out. That makes a lot of sense. Interesting that all of your props are on indoor games. Is
You're
that
right.
correct?
Yep.
Is that right or not?
No, you're right. You're right. You're absolutely right.
Well, no, the Herbert one is not. Well, yeah,
No,
yes,
they're at home. Yeah.
yes, that's right.
They're at home at SoFi Stadium, which of course hosted last night's Rams 49ers game. And I got to tell you, the fans there in LA, they do not support their team. That is for sure. There were more red jerseys in the stands for that game last night for the 49ers than there were Ram jerseys. I'm even I'm getting tweets this morning that the Rams actually pumped in fake crowd noise yesterday in key third down situations to make it look like their fans actually gave a crap.
You know, that is amazing. Well, I guess LA just has too many other options for other entertainment options. And they don't support their teams because they have other things to do. Now, if you're in Green Bay, Wisconsin, you don't have anything else to do but go to the Packer game, that kind of thing. But it's interesting. I hope the injuries stop. I hope because at some point I'd like to actually have some of our better players starting games instead of having a replacement squad like we had last night with the Niners. Even though Mark seemed to enjoy it because he was the only one in the world that picked the winner in that game.
Right. Yes, he was.
I didn't have the side, but you and I had the total under, and we got hosed on that one. Very interesting stuff.
I got one more area that I have been studying extensively this week is players to score the first TD in the game. I don't play these very, very often. But at the very least, I have studied it. And there's two players in the NFL that have scored their team's first TD in 3 out of the first 4 weeks of the season. That's amazing. Those are amazing numbers. Those two players, one of those players is actually off this week. Rome Odunze of the Chicago Bears has scored the first Bears touchdown in 3 out of 4 weeks this season.
Wow.
Unfortunately, they're off this week because we would be loading him to score the first Bears touchdown again. But one guy who's not off this week, Jahmyr Gibbs of the Detroit Lions, has scored the first Lions touchdown in each of the last 3 weeks. He's currently at 3.5 to 1 odds to score the first TD this week, which makes sense. They're on the road against Cincinnati, favored by almost double digits. It's very, very easy that Detroit scores the first touchdown in the game, and it could very well be Jahmyr Gibbs for the 4th week in a row at decent odds of 3.5 to 1. Interesting.
Yeah.
One guy that I do want to mention that is a potential good long shot to score the first TD of the game. Now, remember, not only we have to have the right team to score the first touchdown in addition to the right player to score the first TD of the game. So here's a weird one here. The New York Giants, I'm going back to this Giants-Saints game. The Giants have scored the first touchdown of the game in each of the last 3 weeks. They've scored the first touchdown, the Giants. I got the chart right here. Let me see. It was Malik Neighbors in week 2. It was Cam Scatterbo in week 3. It was Jackson Dart in week 4. The Giants scored the first touchdown against Dallas, against Kansas City, against the LA Chargers. So we're going to play for the Giants to score the first touchdown in this game against the Saints. But the guy I want to load up on is a guy who is around 12-1 odds.
Wow.
Wide receiver, and who I think is new wide receiver one for the Giants, Wan'Dale Robinson. He's currently 12-1 odds to score the first touchdown. And I know this is a tough sell without Malik Neighbors in the lineup. But as I just mentioned, the Giants have scored the first touchdown in each of their last 3 games. Not only that, they scored on their first possession last week with Jackson Dart at the helm for the first time. Now, what I like about Robinson is that he was already a big-time target player. He had snap shares of 76% in week 1, 70% in week 2, 77% in week 3. And when Neighbors went down with the injury last week, Wan'Dale Robinson, his snap share shot up to 97%. So he's basically now an every down player. And in my opinion, he's now the number 1 wide receiver for the New York Giants. So I think that absolutely makes Robinson worth a look in this market specifically, and especially in the anytime TD market as well. You may want to take a look at that. But for our purposes, I like him at the 12-1 odds. Throw a few bucks on him. Wan'Dale Robinson, first touchdown in that Saints-Giants game.
You said that was 12-1?
I currently see the 12-1, yes.
That's pretty good price. Now, but you just mentioned the anytime TD. I know a lot of people like to play anytime TDs on players. What do you think? Are those prices, because it's so popular a play, are those prices lowered? The bookmakers lowered them too much, and it made it not valuable anymore?
You're absolutely right. It's no different than parlay odds. You'll never get true parlay odds, right?
Three-team
you'll never be able to play a 2-team parlay that should pay 4-1 odds. They pay about 2.6-1 odds, right? Same thing with a 3-team parlay. A 3-team parlay should pay 2 times 2 times 2, right? 8-1 odds. You're never going to find a 3-team parlay that pays true odds. So just like parlays, remember the value is cut off significantly on any of these to score a touchdown props.
And you talk about prices. I mean, the teaser prices have gone through the roof.
Yeah, they have. Yeah.
Especially on 2-teamers. I mean, they're basically pricing them out of the market where you won't be able to play them anymore.
Right.
Unless you play offshore, which is a little bit more reasonable. It's the local markets in the States that have raised these prices, and Vegas has followed that too. But offshore, they haven't done that as much. But
it's an intriguing lineup this week in the NFL. It's our first official bye week. You've got a handful of games with low totals of 42 or less. So it should be a lot of fun, and we will see which way it's going to be. Is it going to be high scoring? Is it going to be low scoring? Since last week was at about 49 points per game. We'll see. Either way, it should be a big week in the NFL. And again, we want to thank everybody who joined us for our 5-star game of the month last Sunday. We did bring home the bacon in that game. It was on the Raiders Bears over the total.
Congratulations.
Barely crept over the total. Right. It was not fun to watch on TV. It was not fun to watch Geno Smith turning the ball over left and right on his deep passes. It was not fun with both teams settling on field goals instead of touchdowns. Somehow the game went over the total. I don't know how. Neither team had a good yardage total, but we'll call that a lucky win. And you know what? The fantasy gods kind of, or the gods of wagering kind of owed us one anyway. So we'll take that one. And we want to thank everybody who joined us for that one. And we've got a 4-star over of the week in the NFL. This Sunday, we haven't talked about here in the podcast. It is available at playbooksports.com from our Victor King service, our King Creole service. And of course, Jim, we got our Playbook Football newsletter. NFL Best Bets are cooking, as you can see, as of late. This week's issue is 18 pages long. It's available for just $12. Again, you can download it on our website where it comes out as a PDF publication. And of course, this is what the totals tip sheet looks like in our beautiful color format, purple, green, and gold. We mentioned our winner last week, and of course, that's available as well at playbooksports.com. Issue number 5. What's the price? $11. Either way, you can't go wrong with any of our playbook publications.
Well, these are quality publications. Both Mark and Victor do a hell of a job handicapping this stuff, and they're both experts in this field, and they've been around this 5-6 decades, like I have myself, and we've seen a lot of changes. We've seen a lot of things happen. Now, in the NFL, this might be actually the first week of the regular season if Bill Belichick was right.
Right.
And the first 4 weeks of the regular season are actually the preseason. So if he was correct, this will be the first week of the regular season.
Right. Yep.
So good luck with all your plays, Victor. Thank you very much again. Always
Jim.
prepared, always incredible information and content. And the people out there, send us your likes, send us your comments, let us know what you think, and we'd be glad to answer them and comment back. Victor, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Take care.